Welcome to Comfortable Conversations. I'm your host, Jazz Kirk, where we dive into the greatest gift life can offer us, discomfort. These honest yet comfortable conversations we will have are essential as your life is your canvas. In each episode, I will share practical wisdom and personal stories that guide you through life's big questions, encouraging growth, self-discovery, and deeper connections in your everyday life. Today's guest we have is Marian Mekhail, who, if you don't know Marian, aka Mayor Bear, aka the creative of the year, aka, I want to say this in a way, like, I met you and you've always had this like creative spirit, but like you were covered by God. And I've always felt it because your art tells that story and that narrative. And so it is such an honor to have you here today, because when it comes to like authenticity, like an artist and an artist's story, like, you know, the book, what is that book? The Alchemist. I think of you like whenever that book, and there's a book called The Artist's Way. And so you are just divinely led, and I feel it. So Marian, Thank you for coming.
Wow. Thank
today.
you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing, girl?
Fantastic. I am so fantastic. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm honored that you're having me here and want to have this conversation. It means a lot to me.
Well, I'm excited. So my first question for you is like, that Marian, that person I just described, what discomfort led her to be you sitting right here, right now?
A series of events, a series of many events. It's difficult to find where to start because there are so many
Take us back.
Experiences that God used.
Oh, God. Okay.
That God used. I'll start with me being 13.
Okay.
And my dad studied architecture and asked me to pull his old architecture drawings from the closet.
Okay.
And this was before AutoCAD ever existed.
Okay.
The software that most architects use. So everything was done by hand. And I was blown away by his line work and his shading. So it inspired me to want to be an artist, or to just sketch like him at the very least.
Okay.
And so I used to sit at his drawing table and practice drawing my favorite basketball players.
Okay.
I was obsessed with basketball and still am.
Okay.
And I'm going to fast forward to me being faced with the decision of what I want to do going into college. I had gotten partial basketball scholarships to play at some really great universities. And then I took my SATs and I took it again. And I was that class where you could do the 1600 SATs, which was the older format.
Yeah.
Or you could do the newer SAT, which had the like writing an essay.
Okay.
And so I did the second SAT writing the essay, and I guess I have a gift at writing, and I had a really good story to tell in my essay. And so I got offered an academic scholarship at UTA.
Okay.
So my Egyptian immigrant parents said, you're taking that academic scholarship because it was a bigger scholarship.
Okay, let's back up. So you're Egyptian.
I'm Egyptian.
Are you
full Egyptian? Both my parents, my entire family.
Okay.
My entire family is Egyptian.
Born and raised in Texas, or?
Born in San Antonio.
Okay.
Lived in LA when I was really young. And then we moved to the Dallas area. Most of my life has been in DFW. We lived in DC for a short period when I was 12. But most of my life has been here in Dallas.
Okay, so I got a few questions. I'm going to go back to your dad being an architect here, like in Dallas, he was an architect.
No, he did architecture in Egypt and in LA.
Okay.
And then when moved to Dallas, he shifted into civil engineering.
Okay.
But most of his 20s and 30s were architecture. And then going into his 40s, he kind of transitioned into engineering, civil engineering.
So you kind of got exposed to architecture before he made his transition into civil engineering?
He was already beginning his transition into engineering by the time I saw his drawings.
Okay. I always feel like God has these moments of like, we don't even know in someone else's transitional period, that is the spark to our period.
Exactly.
And so now we fast forward to, it kind of helps us know like your foundation, because the Egyptian aspect is really important, a part of your story and culture. So now you're getting into college.
And wanting to study art, wanting to play basketball, and being told, no, you need to focus on your academics because that's what's getting you the bigger scholarship.
Yeah.
We don't want you having student loans. We don't want you, So, okay, now I have to kind of give up basketball and take this bigger academic scholarship and maintain a certain GPA. So then I say, okay, I'll stay here and do the academic scholarship at UTA in Arlington, but I want to study art.
How did that go?
And then it says, it's an absolutely not. That's not a job. Art is not a real job. So pick something that's I come from an immigrant family.
Yeah,
stability that's what we came here for.
That's the foundation of the culture. They're like, art, that's super cute. We love you want to do that.
That's really cute.
But do it on your pastime and don't play around with the scholarship. That's what your parents said.
Literally.
So do you pick the art major or what did you pick?
I decided to study exercise science, which is like kinesiology, exercise science.
Yeah.
With the plan that, okay, if I can't do art, then let me hone in on like sports in a way that makes sense for them. And maybe I become an athletic trainer, like the folks that run on the field when there's an injury, or do physical therapy.
Okay.
That was like my, compromise.
So you hushed artist in you.
I silenced her.
Yeah.
Or hushed her, but I would say silenced her.
Yeah.
For a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So to keep it a little bit, like give you the abridged version, I studied exercise science. I worked at 2 physical therapy offices in college. I worked many different jobs in many different industries. I waited tables in college. I then graduated and was a manager for a $70 million Target. I was a manager for a retail, like a woman's boutique retail store. I was a admin / secretary / executive assistant for a government agency. I did many different things. But the bulk of my corporate career, which was about 8 years, was as an operations director. First operations manager at one startup company, and then operations director at another startup company. And at the time, I was living in Addison, in this area where it was like, part of it was being cleaned up and gentrified, and part of it was still like a little bit unsafe.
Okay.
And I'll never forget this. I had just started at I just started a new role as operations director for a medical staffing firm, like right on the border of Plano, Frisco, Legacy area. And I'm living in this apartment complex that's like really not the greatest. It's just what I can afford at the time. And I'm actually surprisingly walking home with a handful of art supplies. So my hands are not free. And this guy walks up to me, clearly very high on hardcore narcotics. Like we're talking like he's high off of like heroin.
Yeah.
Comes up to me asking me for cash, asking me for money. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't have any money. And he just snapped and punched me right in the eye and knocked me out, like literally knocked me clean out just like fell straight to the floor, black eye. So, and then he runs off. So I grab everything and run into my apartment. I call the police and they say, we're aware, we've gotten reports. Several people have been reporting him. We're looking for him. I stayed the whole weekend in my apartment, just like scared to leave. And that was over the weekend. And so that Monday, I go to my boss and I say, I think I might need to take out a second job because I need to move. I want to move closer to the area.
Yeah.
So I got an apartment in Plano, and it was like nearly twice the rent. What I was used to paying. And so I say to him, I think I'm going to take out a second job. And he says, well, you signed a non-compete. So if you take out any second job, we have to approve it. We have to, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wow.
So I say to myself, I'm like, okay. And at this time, I was starting to paint again, draw again. I had done a local art show,
Yeah.
But nothing like what I'm doing now.
It was a hobby.
It was a hobby.
Up your hobby.
I had reclaimed this okay, artist. You know? And so when he said that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to have art be my second job. I would stay after hours and use my work computer to build my website. I built it myself. I would use my work computer to make business cards, make merch. I started signing up for local art shows and was like, I'm going to make this my second job.
So sometimes it sucks, the thing that comes and knocks us on our butt, that we're like, okay, God, I hear you. But do you feel like you needed that moment to realize I am in an unsafe environment, that you have to level up?
Yes.
And the level up is one that you're like, if I remain where I am, I really can't sustain even my living situation. And sometimes I'm like, God really needs you to be shift your mind. I'm going to need your mind to come up here. And so now you have to have this shift that you have to, the voice inside is you need something different. You don't even know it's little at 18 when you hushed her and said silence.
Well, I want to backtrack a little bit.
Okay, then
I want to backtrack. I make this decision I'm not going to go too dark, but I make this decision based on my parents saying, you're not going to study art.
Yeah.
You're going to do something else. And 3 weeks before graduating, my mom says, we regret that we discouraged you from doing art because you're so good at it. But I make this decision at 18. I now decide I'm going to attend UTA and study what makes them feel more comfortable and I'm okay with.
Yeah.
And at 18, 2 months into my freshman year, I had an extremely, extremely traumatic event happen to me.
Okay.
A series of extremely traumatic events. I won't go too deep into that, but the time when I said I decided to reclaim art and start this hobby again, it's because 7 years after this traumatic event, that was in 2006, that all this stuff went down. 7 years later, in 2013, I decided, after much encouragement from my mom, because my mom tried to encourage me to seek professional help.
Yeah.
And I had gone to a few sessions because I didn't tell my mom until 4 years after what happened to me.
Oh, wow.
In 2010, she kept encouraging me, I think you should talk to somebody. I went to 6 sessions, did not like the therapist, didn't trust her, wasn't in the space to open up.
Yeah.
3 years later, I decided on my own accord, to seek out a Christian trauma counselor.
Okay.
And it was a Black woman who changed my life.
Okay.
She helped change the way I think. Okay. And in order to change the way I'm living, I needed to change the way I think.
Yeah.
And in one of our sessions, she had somehow coaxed out of me that I really love to draw. I'm really good at art. And she used art therapy in a couple sessions with me. And that's what spurred this I'm going to start back up with my art.
Yeah.
And so now fast forward, it's 2015 when I'm getting punched in the eye in the parking lot of my apartment. And just the day before that I got punched in the eye by a meth head or something. I don't know. I'll never forget being on the phone with my sister-in-law and saying to her, because I was leaving my apartment complex, and I'm on the phone with her and I go, Gigi, I think I just saw like a drug deal go down. I literally just saw somebody like do an exchange, you know? And then the next day that happened. I say all that to say, yes, God was using that particular punch in the eye as like I'm going to move you around over here.
Yeah.
So that you're now forced to think about your art in a business sense.
Yeah.
Because I want this to be your purpose. It's always been in you. And now I'm rerouting you so that you are forced to start thinking about it as this is actually my purpose.
Yeah. And it can, like you were starting to also get forced to realize like this can provide for me. Before it didn't really provide for you. You also kind of, I think it's funny how your boss was like, well, you have a non-compete, and you like had to really assess like,
well, what can I do?
What can I do? Well, you can't have my art.
You can't tell me. I used to, I'm working for a startup. This is a startup company. I'm the like 6th person hired. And it literally goes our CEO and the 2 founders. And then there's no HR department in our office. I'm the next,
operational person.
I'm the operations director. And I used to work from like 7 or 8 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m., like 12-hour days at this startup.
Yeah.
Go home, let my dog out. I had another dog at the time. Let my dog out. I would work out during my lunch hour so that I got a workout in.
Yeah.
Eat something. And then from like, let's say 9 or 10 p.m. till 2 in the morning, I would be painting.
Oh, wow.
Local art shows, figuring out little coffee shops that would let me set up, prints of my stuff and smaller works, and just constantly hustling to find a way for this to like actually be a real income for me.
So how many years of that was that? Because I always like to make sure people hear the 10,000 hours you put in, because like people are like, I want to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you don't pick up the paintbrush and next week be like, this is $5,000.
Yeah, and I'm gone. Like this is it. I'm quitting right now.
Yeah.
No, it took 4 years.
Okay.
And it took from when I started all of this, like, hey, I think I'm gonna do this. That was in 2015.
Okay.
I left in 2019, and in those 4 years, God was making me very uncomfortable with my work environment.
Okay, tell us about it. Give us something.
Okay, now the folks that work there or did work there, I don't know if they're going to hear this. It's okay. I don't mind if they hear this, but I worked at a misogynistic, sexist, racist frat house.
Oh, wow.
At one point, I was one of only 3 women that worked at the company. And every day, God was showing me, this is not where you belong. And I know you're working towards leaving, and I'm going to keep fueling it to get you out of here.
I always say pain pushes until the vision pulls. Like you're in the fire and you're like, you have to know the things you don't want anymore in order to know like what your true heart's desires are. And it also brings you closer to God. Like you're sitting there like, let's have a conversation.
And the day that I put in my resignation, but I was vital to this company. Like if I leave right now, they will lose hundreds of thousands of dollars because I'm responsible for running the payroll for all the doctors. Yeah. And because I've been begging for 2 years to get an automated system and they don't want to invest in it. And it all lives here
Yeah.
in Excel spreadsheets that I've built formulas for hundreds of doctors. And if somebody fat fingers it or doesn't know the formula, and I told my boss one day, God forbid I die. God forbid I leave. What are you going to do?
Y'all are going to fail.
So when I gave my resignation, I said, I will stay here as long as it takes for you to find a replacement for the girl. I think that there's one of the girls that was working with me. I think she should take my role.
Yeah.
And I think you would be stupid of you to hire somebody else. You should put her in my position and find someone to replace her.
Yeah.
So I will be here 3 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are mine, because I was getting to a point where my art, like, I wasn't having enough time to do all of this art. It's funny because it shifted. Now my art was actually earning more, just as much and now or more. And now I need the time to invest in that.
And you hadn't even given it. You were still part-time with the art.
I was just doing that on the side. That was my side hustle. I had not left my job yet. And so I told him, I will stay as long as it takes for you to replace somebody with her, but I'm only going to be here 3 days a week. And he agreed. And the next day, I said, I want that in writing. And so he came to my office and brought his laptop, and we had agreed that I would work 3 days a week and I would keep my benefits, but I would only get paid 75% of my salary since I'm only here 3 out of the 5.
Yeah.
So he goes to, plug in the numbers, and he says, okay, this is what we're going to, pay you. And I said, that's not 75% of my pay. And he says, well, I don't want to pay you, 75% if you're not going to give 100% on the days that you're here. And I said, what would ever make you think I wouldn't give 100%?
Yeah.
Did I not do the interior design build out for this entire office free of charge because you knew I had worked in interior design for 2 years? Did I not work on Christmas Day for you because payroll fell on and I had to sit for 7 hours in my uncle's, office in San Antonio and miss my niece's first birthday to set up a VPN and do the payroll? And did I not build out this whiteboard wall with the LED lights and come up with all these? Have I not come up with every process for this company? Have I not worked? Did I not stain the wood wall of our reception desk and pick out the cedar wood and stay after hours to build? Like, what would
I not given enough for you not to even ask me?
You literally said to me one day, I'm not going to hire you help until you're ready to quit. Until you're like, I would be in the stairwell bawling my eyes out, so overwhelmed. And he's like, I'm not getting you help until you're like this ready to quit. So I turned to him when he said that. I turned to him and I said, have I not da-da-da-da-da-da? And I said, you know what? Forget everything I said yesterday. Tomorrow's my last day. I'm going to come in. I'm going to grab my stuff.
I always think stuff is funny because sometimes we want to leave on our accord and like leave on this, and then life shows you, God ultimately shows you like, nah, boo, you don't have to.
And I'm going to tell you just a quick little side story. The day I gave my resignation to him and the 2 founders of like, hey, I'll stay here 2 weeks, I'll stay here 2 months until you replace her.
Yeah.
I leave their office and they agree, they understand. I leave their office, I go back to my office and I get a phone call. Random phone call from a recruiter. And this woman calls me and says, hi, I found your CV. It's incredible. I have this role at the largest for-profit healthcare, firm in the country. They just relocated from Boston. Their headquarters are now here in Dallas. It's right up the street.
Yeah.
It's a temporary role. We have our director of operations for legal is going to be out on maternity leave. She'll be gone for like 4 or 5 months. And we need somebody to, hold things down until she gets back. Are you interested? I said, no, I just gave my resignation today to pursue my own business. And she goes, do you at least just want to hear the pay? And I go,
fine,
hit me. What you got? And when she said the pay, I go, yes, I will interview. I will interview, right? And in my mind, I'm rationalizing that maybe this is God's way of bridging the financial gap. Maybe I leave here and I just work there for 4 months and just stack, because I had already been stacking for 4 years.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to leave my job and not look back at all.
Again,
I didn't want 3 months. I didn't want 6 months of expenses. I wanted like
years.
capital. You know? So when I get this call, I'm like, oh, maybe this is God's way of, you know. So I go interview, I get the job. Okay. I go work at this place for 3 days. In those 3 days, I realized they want 3 people. They want 3 roles in one person. They want head of legal operations. They want somebody who's going to be executive assistant to 8 attorneys and do all their scheduling. And they want someone to be the executive assistant and personal assistant to the head legal counsel of the entire company. And in 3 days, I wrote 18 pages of notes on just him. He needs his cranberry juice in the morning. You need to lay out these files, his boat insurance. You need to book travel for him and his son for the Bahamas for da-da-da. When he goes to London, he stays at the Soho House in London. Make sure these slippers, it has to be this seat on the plane. It needs to be this suite at the...
All of this.
And I immediately was like, oh, you're leaving what felt like corporate slavery to go to something far, far worse. And I had to say to myself, this is not God saying, I'm going to bridge the financial gap. This is God testing. How much faith do you really have in what I know I've called for you? And I left on Valentine's Day, 2019. That's the last time I've ever worked for anybody else. Valentine's Day, the day of love, I chose me.
Yeah.
And last little bit, 1 month later, I had illustrated a children's book. And the book won an award. And the largest international children's book fair every year. It's in Bologna, Italy. Mm-hmm. So me and the author are going to go to Italy to this book fair. And I'm going to fly from Dallas to Rome. Yeah. But I have a layover in London. So the first leg is Dallas to London. Yeah. And I'm walking through, for business class. And who do I see? Head of legal counsel for that company.
Going to his London Soho house.
And he sees me and I said, hello. I'm not going to say his name. I said, hello, sir. And he's like, I only worked there for 3 days. Yeah. So he's like, Marian? I said, yes. Yeah. Correct. He goes, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I illustrated a children's book and I'm going to the largest, book fair, Bologna, Italy, da, 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 da. And he goes, I guess you made the right choice.
Yeah.
I said, yes, sir, I did. Had I not left, I would be in a cubicle booking this flight for you. And here I am on it for mine.
Yeah. So there's so much to unpack here because what keeps you going? Because clearly you got to think about mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health right now. As you're sharing this and just thinking of other entrepreneurs, other creators, because also in your 10,000 hours, you also set a plan. And I think so many entrepreneurs, it's glamorized, right? So many artists or entrepreneurs. For artists, it's you have to be a starving artist. Some people relate artistry with you have to starve to succeed. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to entrepreneurship, sometimes it's very much I blink and it's successful when it's no, this is dedicated 7-8 years, but also your financial plan wasn't stack 3 months. When you said you didn't stack 3 months, you're let me stack 4 years of capital.
I'm never coming back to this.
Yeah. And it's you had to have this very hard situation for you to know I'm gonna stay here, but in the meantime this is what I'm doing on the back end. And how many people don't know that? Mm-hmm. Their circumstance is what they're staying in, and they're this is keeping me from doing this and this.
Mm-hmm. I think when you're in it and it's so hard to see out of it, you have to carve out the time. You have to make the time for what, if you know there's a purpose on your heart, if you know there's a talent where there's a gift, there's a talent, because gift and talent are different.
Okay.
And there's the potential for income and they all overlap. You have to make the time to hone it, grow it, invest in it,
expand it,
stretch it. There's going to be so many challenges. How much are you willing to sacrifice? How much are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to, skip out on everybody's birthday dinners and eat before and drink water? And, are you willing to not go? Are you willing to go 4 years without buying a new piece of clothing? I did that.
Girl, when I tell you 1 year, I was like, I never used to like having, repeating outfits. And then I went a year like, you gonna repeat that outfit.
To just wear what you have. You gonna have to use what you have. Are you willing to, sit on a floor and have no furniture to have an area to create?
Yeah.
Are you willing to drive your old, beat up Toyota Corolla when everybody's driving
BMWs, Mercedes, and the glam of all of everything?
But also, are you trusting in God's provision? Because God never promised to make us rich. Never. There's no promise he's going to make us rich. But he has promised to give us what we need.
Yeah.
And I saw another woman say this in a podcast, and it has stuck with me. The Lord's Prayer, they say like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, the kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. Give us this day our daily bread. It forces you daily to go to him to ask for what you need. And he will give you what you need.
Yeah.
He's not going to give you what you want. He will give you what you need.
Yes.
And then there's going to be moments like last year, March of 23, so a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
When, not only has he given you what you need, but he's also given you what you want, right? Because I used to dream about, I'd be sitting in a cubicle or sitting in an office dreaming, I can't wait to wake up one day and make a cup of coffee and then, go into my like professional art studio and just like think about what I want to create. And then that happened. That was given to me. And then there's going to come a day like March 21st of 2023 where he is going to need to remind you, this is because of me. This ain't you. This ain't you.
Okay, tell us this. What happened March 21st, 2023?
Just 10 days prior, I had my third solo. I had done many different exhibitions at different other galleries, but this was my third solo collection exhibition at Waz Gallery. We Are All Stars Gallery, Brandy Michelle Adams Gallery. I had just done a big exhibit sponsored by Puma and Uncle Nearest Whiskey and Don Julio and Topo Chico, and I'd done this big dinner for Women's Month and this whole thing. And I get a call from DJ Ivy. She's the on-court personality for the Mavs.
Yeah.
She says she wants to buy a piece. Can I meet her at the gallery? I said, sure. And I'm driving there and I get hit by a DART train and lived. I get hit by a DART train before an arm barrier has even gone down.
Oh my God.
Blindsided by a train. And 1 second earlier, had this happened 1 second earlier, I would have been T-boned with the train and dragged and probably not be here.
So the back end of your car was hit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And I got hit so hard that I slammed my head on the side of the window.
Yeah.
And was so concussed that I threw up right there, like on the scene, and had severe back and neck pain,
Oh my gosh.
couldn't work for 3-4 months, couldn't work out, gained weight.
Yeah.
And oh man, God had to teach me that, like, don't put so much of your identity into your appearance and into your looks and into your body. Be happy and grateful and proud that you have a body that can do what you need it to do to fulfill your purpose.
Yeah.
I couldn't work for like 3 or 4 months physically, just was like, and was in such a like depressed state.
Yeah.
Asking myself, was this my fault?
Yeah.
Was this my fault?
Like, what is here? What is the lesson? Like, why?
Why?
Yeah.
And it was really one of those moments where, when you see a child on the monkey bars and they're, and their parents underneath holding them up.
Yeah.
And they're like, Dad, look, I'm doing it. it. And the dad or the mom is like, yeah, you are sweetie. Great job. Yeah. But really they're holding you up underneath.
Yeah.
It was God trying to say,
I've been holding you up.
I'm the one holding you up. You think you're doing this. Like, I was starting to get
the ego.
The ego was starting to set in. And I was not giving God his time. I was not giving God I was superficially giving him his glory.
Yeah.
I wasn't truly giving him his glory. And when God wants to get your attention, he'll just do like a jazz. And if we don't listen, he'll kind of be like,
I always say it's the tap, and that's the one you want to hear. Because
you had to punch me in the eye with a train.
Yeah.
Metaphoric, like figuratively, I was punched in the eye again with a train.
Yeah. I always say it's the tap, it's the knock on the head, and it's the fallout. And you don't want to, like, I've seen it enough to be like, please just talk to me. Just talk to me. I'll listen.
I promise. And after that, because better for me to be physically hurt than spiritually dead.
Yeah.
And I think I was on a road to becoming spiritually dead. And I think he was like, you can handle some back and neck pain, but I cannot, as your father, handle you becoming spiritually dead. And after that, I found God forcing me to be still, not only physically, but spiritually rest in him so that I could hear his voice again, because baby, God talks to me. He talks to me.
Take us through like spiritual rest. I think I feel like shared this message that so many people, I feel like that's why I say your authenticity, you can feel it, right? But you had to go through something that exposed you to a way that you're like, I can't be that. Like, I can't have both worlds, and you really can't. And some people do get caught up in that world and they stay there, and you're like, I love that for you. I personally cannot. And so take people through like how to really be at spiritual rest, how to really know, like, even when you talked about like the depression you kind of went through, I've similarly experienced that, like being extremely fit, Lululemon ambassador, wellness queen, and then all of a sudden last year, get off birth control, and it's like,
I had the same experience.
I was like, who is this? Am I pregnant? Like, what is going on? Like, where is this weight coming from? So that ego does that. I did have to relearn how to be very gentle with my body, because I'd be like, baby, we went on a week worth of runs. Where the abs back? They're not back. Oh my God, they're not back. And so
you tie so much of your identity to that.
So help people really go through like releasing your identity, your ego through those things.
Okay. I'm going to start with when you said the spiritual rest. I grew up with this a young man who ended up becoming a priest in my church.
Okay.
So he's like an old friend, but then also became like, a priest. His name is Father Michael. And I was in New Jersey visiting him 3 years ago. And, just having a very transparent talk with him. And he said, do you know the story of Mary and Martha in the Bible? I said, I do. And for those that don't know, Jesus is coming to visit an old friend of his. His name is Lazarus. Lazarus has 2 sisters, Mary and Martha. And Martha sits and wants to hear what Jesus has to talk about, like with the rest of the group.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Mary's in the kitchen, like trying to get the food made for everybody because there's like all these guests in the house. Yeah. She's like prepping the food and prepping the drinks and and setting up the plates and washing the dishes and just like go.
Yeah.
And she comes and she brings out the food and basically she's like resentful towards her sister. Like, you see me doing all of this. You see how much needs to get done.
Yeah.
Like, why are you just sitting here? Like, help,
Yeah.
And Jesus says to Mary, basically, I'm going to like sum it up in like our
everyday
language.
Yeah.
I applaud your sister Martha because she came to hear what I have to say. That's more important. Yes, what you're doing is so wonderful and generous, and it's not lost on me, the work that goes into having all these people in your space. But what's more important, setting the table for me or
being present with me?
Being present with me.
Yeah.
Rest in me.
Yeah.
And so Father Michael asks me, are you Martha or are you Mary? And I said, oh my God, I'm Mary.
I'm Mary all day.
I am the definition of a busybody.
Yeah.
I am a busybody.
Yeah.
I constantly have to find a way to be useful, a way to improve. There's always something to be done. There's always something to be done. And he's like, I need you, Marian, because he called it 3 years ahead. And this is in November of 21. And in March of 23, this happens.
Yeah.
He says, I need you to rest in him because if you don't, he will force you.
Yeah. Do you feel like
And then there was another question that you asked me
we'll get to it because in the resting, because that's where we're going. I feel like personally for me, there was recently an experience within this year. I've had a lot of self-work, baby. But I had to realize I didn't know how to be. Like when you talk about the be present, just be present with me. And I said, God, I've always had to work to get to. So when you say be healthy, be happy, be whole, I had to work to be healthy. I had to work to be healthy. I had to work to be whole. So I don't know how to just be it because I work so much. So when you say be enough, like just be still, I'm like, I don't for this next level, for where you're asking me to go, I don't really know how to be still or be at rest because I've always had to work. And so I share that because I feel like what you were sharing, I'm like, so many people don't know. They don't even realize they're the Mary in the story. And you'll get mad at the other because you're like,
where are you at?
Like,
show up. Where are you not showing up? And really, he's calling us to show up, to like sit and listen to him.
Yeah.
You know? I felt like the first 4 years of, I'm about to celebrate in February 6 years of being a full-time artist. The first 3 or 4, I would say, I was constantly forcing everything to happen, feeling that I have to will it.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to use an example just last week.
Yeah.
A mentor of mine who's like a world-renowned artist was doing a residency at the American Academy in Rome and invited me to come to the academy and, see his work in the studio and
Yeah.
And I said, okay, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to come. And, maybe I'll pop in to visit my cousins afterwards because they live in Germany.
Yeah.
They're half Egyptian, half German, born in Germany, lived their whole lives in Germany. So they're, that's. So I went, and then I go to visit my cousins. And in the past, I'm always like, hunt. I mean, I have to.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, as a full-time artist, you only eat what you kill.
Yeah.
So it's constantly, and it's not just, it's hunt the beast. It's kill the beast. It's
I just said this,
skin and clean the beast.
Yes.
It's cook the beast. It's do the dishes after.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, it's find the opportunity, lock in the contract, actually execute the project or do the work, then, do the invoicing and the accounting and the cleanup afterwards. And it's everything.
Yeah.
I used to force everything. I go on this trip. I'm just invited, wow, okay, my art led me to this connection with this incredible artist who, is like a mentor to me.
Yeah.
That leads me now to go on a trip to Rome.
Yeah.
That leads me to then go to my cousin's house. And then his cousin, my cousin's wife says, I've been following your work all these years. We're obsessed. We want some original pieces. Can we commission you to do 2 pieces for our dining room? Definitely. Here's my process. I do a deposit and then, oh no, we just pay you in full. It's easier for us that way. And here I am. My gift has led me to a beautiful trip. God, I'm asking God, okay, I have, this coming up. What's going to be next?
Yeah.
And got a great commission order from my cousin's wife.
Yeah.
And just letting him I used to be hunt. And what that does is it puts you in a very assertive, masculine.
You're in control and you don't know how to surrender.
And
you can't surrender.
You can't surrender. And the last year or 2, have been trying to find my feminine essence again, because I've had, since what happened to me at 18, I have had to live in survival mode. I have had to be, though I'm a girly girl sometimes, and I can be a tomboy sometimes, and I can be, get my nails done and da-da-da. My essence was having to be so masculine.
Yeah.
And part of being in your feminine essence is receiving.
Yeah.
Is receiving. Is letting it come to you.
So I feel all of that because that was me last year, November. I said, I have one thing Jazz can do is will it. And I haven't left room for God. Like, what is the saying? The will of God will never take you where the grace of God cannot keep you.
Say it again.
The will of God will not take you where the grace of God cannot keep you. My auntie always says that to me. And
that's powerful.
It was a moment that I was like, have I let the will of God take me anywhere though? I've willed it. If I want a speaking opportunity, what has Jazz always done? Created it. If I wanted an event, if I wanted to be in a space, I created the space and I never let God create it. Mm-hmm. And so November, I was like, I'm not doing another event. And it was shocking for people because they were like, well, we have this event. No, I cannot. Mm-hmm. I cannot. Unless the event is fully ready and Jazz just has to show up, I can't because I'm like, I've willed everything and I haven't made room. Your gifts, my auntie always says, your gifts will make room for you, but have you allowed them to make room for you? And so this year has been such a faith walk that I stopped willing it my way. And I kid you not, yesterday I had called my friend and I was like, God is so funny because something a year ago that I was like forcing and like, I want it this way and I want all these things. A 10-minute phone call was like every single thing I could have wanted was wrapped in a bow, double flip it, tumble it. It was so good. And I was like, oh my God. But I also had to consciously start saying, like, granted, when I say the will and like you letting it flow, it's not you stop putting in the work. And that's exactly like, even as you're talking, I'm like, I don't want people to hear like it's all like
just gonna show up
flow.
at your door,
like,
you know?
because you did put in the work, that relationship with your mentor and everything. But when you sit in the presence and like really just be and allow it to flow, because your work had like you've put in the work. Yeah. I always say faith without works is dead. So you've put in your work, but you've also walked on that faith walk that it's like, oh, it's 10 times more beautiful, you know? And I just think it's like, so freaking magical.
I think that, and it's funny you said faith without works is dead. I always say, prayer without action is delusion. And action without prayer is meaningless.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand. And there was a situation at the beginning of this year, in January of this year, January and February, where I had to learn to ask God for such immense discernment in everything, that down to when I step into the studio, I say, God, you guide my hands today. What work do you want me to create? God, who do you want me to work with? Do you want me to work with this person or not? Make it so clear. And he will do it. Do you want me to go into business with this person? Do you want me to do this podcast with this person? Do you want me to date this person? Do you want me to allow this person into my studio? Yeah. And he will make it.
That move is so quick. You're like, I can't even be mad. And I don't wait to ask anymore, because I'm like, I'd hate to get anywhere down the road and then it's like you vanish and I'm like, I know why. You weren't meant. Yeah.
And when you're constantly praying that, things come and go so much. You're able to accept it so much. You have so much peace in the acceptance of, oh, I wasn't meant to work with that person. Okay. Oh, I am meant to work with this person. It will, that acceptance comes so much more freely. The beginning of this year, I was, considering working with somebody, and we were planning an event together. And I wanted to see how that event would go to determine if this is somebody I should continue a long-term business relationship with. And I could feel my spirit so unsettled.
Yeah.
I'm normally, typically, a more cheerful person. I was so irritable around this person.
Yeah.
And there was a day when I was in my dog is spoiled. My dog is very spoiled.
Yeah, Mac.
Mac, he's the best dog in the whole world. Everybody's dog is the best dog in the whole world. They're all right. They're all correct. I was in Mac's little playroom area, and I was cleaning something off the rug. So I was actually already on the floor.
Yeah.
And I heard God say to me, pray. You're already on your knees.
You're already here.
You're here. You're down here. I need you to
talk to me.
And I talked to him out loud with my voice when I'm really wanting to talk to him. And I said out loud, Father, you know what's best for me. And I need you to make it so abundantly clear.
Yeah.
If this person should be in my world, in my life, in my business. And he will answer you so
it's quickly. Seconds later, you're like, that's crazy.
You can feel your spirit. And this is not to condemn anybody.
Yeah.
Timing is very important. It wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right partnership. It wasn't the right person. But also, as a Christian woman, we need to pay attention to the spiritual battles that go on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we sometimes don't realize what's like walking
Festering
amongst
and
us.
walking, yeah.
You know, pay
Because
attention
a lot
to,
of people's intentions aren't always good, and they see something in you that will ultimately they're using the piece of you that they know they can. And it's not a bad, like some people go through life like that. And I'm like, I love that for you. I just don't. And when you get into partnership, especially being in business for yourself, getting into partnerships, relationships, and I say relationships across the board because I had to
romantic. Anything.
I had to learn relationships across the board, how important it is to have a level of discernment and have that power within you to be like, this is a no for me. It's just a no for me.
And it's not a knock against you.
Yeah, you're going to do great things, not with me.
Maybe we're just not spiritually aligned.
Yeah.
And maybe God doesn't want me or you to be in this like partnership where we're not aligned on like
to create the best thing we can. Exactly. So my last question for you is, if there's one thing that you could share with an entrepreneur, artist, or whatever on their journey, like not to give up, what would you say?
There's going to be so many moments when you want to.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many moments where you want to. And all of those like amazing things that you're looking for, waiting for, they're on the other side of like,
don't give up.
Not giving up. Imagine if you stop now, God wouldn't take you this far to just drop you right here and say, that's it.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned The Alchemist, you know, that entire book is about the journey being the treasure.
Yeah.
We're constantly looking for this big breakthrough on the other side, you know, like that breakthrough that when you see it, you just know it.
Yeah.
But there are so many what we consider micro breakthroughs that God thinks are the biggest deal.
That is the abundance. Like that's the abundance happening.
Like you would think that doing a big solo exhibit sponsored by Puma's giving me dollars to put this on, you would think that's like the breakthrough. And God's like, peanuts. Peanuts in the grand scheme of eternity. I'm worried about this and this. Yeah. So like, I'm literally going to have you hit by a train and have you transform your spiritual life, because that's the breakthrough I was looking for.
That's the 24 karat gold. Like you're walking with the gold.
That's the, you know, that's the gold I'm looking for. Puma, who cares?
Yeah.
Another one will come. But like, where are you?
Yeah.
You know? And if I gave up after being hit by a train, I wouldn't have come to the gold he wanted for me.
Yeah.
You know, keeping that in mind that yes, you need money to keep going.
Yeah.
You need the big opportunities to keep going. But like, truly this life is nothing in comparison to the grand scheme of like all of eternity. Yeah. So as you're on this journey, what lessons are you being shown and faced with that are going to keep you growing in like your light?
Yeah.
That allows for you to continue to continue living your purpose.
Yeah.
In 2022, I had a surprise visitor at my studio. I won't say who, but I had somebody who knows me very well.
Yeah.
Surprise me and pull up at my studio. Uninvited, unannounced. And initially I was like, I don't know that I really want you here.
Yeah.
You know? And, but I let them in and we sat in my office area at my old studio, which was by Love Field. And they said to me, I get it. I get where you are right now, because I was in a very jaded, calloused, frustrated, wanting to kind of give up, but like, just like I had built this just like jadedness, hardened spirit, attitude, everything that comes with working for yourself. Yeah. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly dealing with people you don't know if you can trust, legal issues. I mean, like, it's just as things grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger, everything starts becoming like
little micro problems that you don't realize are happening.
You don't realize. And then one day it takes somebody who knows you very well to say to you, like, I get it. Like, I get why you're in this space, but like, it's kind of disappointing that like this is the spirit you have, because the Marian I know, who like started this journey with so much light, and that's what attracted everybody to you, it's like kind of dimmed, and like, I don't know that I really like this Marian. You know, like, what made you such a fantastic artist was your authenticity, your joy, your light that you had in you. And right now it's just not really showing. That's essentially what this conversation ended up being. And I felt it. I kind of received that word, but it took a year after for like everything to kind of come
full circle for you to like really, that was your tap.
That was the tap, but I didn't listen to the tap.
Yeah,
so God said, I'm going to punch you in the eye again.
Yeah.
And so then to sit here and when you made your introduction and you said like your authenticity, and you have this like sort of almost like there's this like spiritual ordination over you. That's like the greatest compliment I can ever get, because I know God has put a major calling over my life. I always say this in every interview. You're going to hear it in every interview I ever do. Yeah. I was created by the ultimate creator to create. And I don't ever want to lose sight of that. And it doesn't just mean create art. It's create thought that maybe wasn't to create an idea, or to create a conversation, or to create a connection, or, you know, to create something physical with my hands. Yes. But
Marian, this was like such a good conversation. I feel like I could talk to you all day. This was like,
we can keep talking.
Just gems on top of gems. But I just want to say thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for giving people a glimpse of like Marian, that like social media will never be able to feel this story through the images. All we'll feel is your spirit. But like, to know, there was trial, there was like hard work that went in this, but also like obstacles, discomfort. And I think that's why I started this podcast, because I'm like, I want to have these very comfortable conversations where people know like, you got this. The version that everyone sees of someone, it's like, okay, that's the fast forwarded version. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for creating this, for creating the space for people to come here and share. I mean, that's huge. Like, people don't understand what goes into building something like this, and to having the discernment to know who to have come on, and who to speak to different things. So I'm very grateful that you had me. And, you know, people see you on social media and they just think, oh, you know, she's a full-time artist. Let's see, it's glamorous. And they don't realize, like, man, after what I went through at 18, nothing can
hold you back.
Nothing.
Wow.
Nothing will. Not with the father I have.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Marian.
Thank you.